Hey everybody, it's Mandy. I am here today to talk with you about prioritization and time blocking and really dealing with the feeling of overwhelm. I am someone who has always felt like she could fit it all in, even back to high school, trying to play all of the sports and be in all of the clubs and all of the travel teams and, college, same deal. No really wasn't part of my vernacular until very recently. So now being full-time mom, single mom, and having a full-time job that's pretty demanding, as well as being a real estate investor that is really growing my future and helping other people along their path, it's pretty important to make sure that I'm impactful with how I choose to spend my time. What I'll tell you though is when I get involved, when I kind of bite off more than I can chew, I tend to kind of go into this feeling of overwhelm that, I just kind of want to lay in a ball and I just don't want to get up and I just hope everything will take care of itself. And that's when I know I need to address things. So a couple years ago when I dived in headfirst into real estate investing, when I went pro, as I call it, I was really faced with a need to figure out how to deal with this overwhelm. And what I found were a couple of principles that when I put them into action, not only did I feel better and, have a better outlook on the way I was approaching things, but I got way more done and I was, felt way more balanced about everything. And it's a couple of things that I don't know were really obvious from the start of it. So excited to share those with you. So first and foremost, time blocking. I've heard a ton about this. A lot of people pay homage to, you should be time blocking, you should be time blocking. And the reason that this is super important for me is because the amount of time it gets my brain to change over from one activity to another activity, there's a changing time. There's science behind that. There's a ton of books, which I'm sure I could reference for you if I can remember. But, the changing time matters. So the idea of multitasking being a thing that makes you effective, in my opinion, is completely untrue. And it's also backed by science that it's completely untrue because you lose a lot of time figuring out where you left off. So the ability to give full focus to something, to one activity, one batch of similar activities, really allows you to dig in and do deep work. Deep work is one of the books that was really good in terms of influencing how I approach this. That the deeper the thought you can give to something rather than the superficial thought, the more real action happens. So, okay, so in terms of what I do for time blocking, I made a spreadsheet that, let's see if I can show you. It's really just a plain old, this is from Excel, and I just made this out. So I'll put the link in the description. But I just print this out. I have a bunch of copies, and then usually Sunday night or Monday morning, depending on how, the week's gone, I'll put pen to paper and I'll, kind of say, all right, on Monday I know I have this meeting with Mariana, and then I'm going to do some more calls, just kind of general batch calls, and so on and so forth. Tuesday night, you can see I made sure that I blocked off time so that I knew that I'd be all in with my kiddo. One thing that I think is not terribly intuitive, but was really freeing for me, trying to do all this stuff, away from my kid. A lot of time trying to do a side hustle without, knowing that I should be momming right now and showing up for my kid, mom guilt's a real thing, you guys, like it's legit. So, knowing that I'm going to be completely cell phone off, completely no calls from anyone, no work, nothing, just all in on my date with my kiddo. If you're wondering, we went to Panera and then he got to get a toy at Walmart. It was a real big deal. We had a great time. But just knowing that I can give him 100% of my attention, it's going to be a much more impactful interaction anyway, and memory making for him. If I'm all in for 3 hours versus like a third in for an entire day. So I really encourage you to, think through when you could give all in time to your family. What that also does is it frees me for in opportunities like this. Like I'm recording this video because it's really important to me to be able to provide impact to people that I know and that I'm helping out. But my kid's playing outside with his nanny and I feel no guilt because this is something that's important to me, and I know that he and I are going to go have ice cream later. So you know, play around with that, see if it limits the, well, parent guilt, but mom guilt is its own special flavor. But anyway, I like to batch like calls. I tell Siri on my phone, you know, add call Rod Khleif to my call list, add call, you know, Jennifer Barner to my call list. So when it's time to call, it's all grouped all together so that I can just go knock one by one off, and it's just an easy peasy straight down the list. I don't have to have those changing times in my brain like I was talking about, and I'm able to be super impactful with the couple of hours that I've planned. So that's what time blocking means to me. A second thing that I think is super impactful for when you are committed and digging into doing that deep work on whatever it is, it's how do you prioritize, right? So a lot of really good books on this. The couple that I like the most, you know, one of them is actually just, you know, it was a meme from Facebook. If you saw, you've probably seen it, but it was a philosophy teacher, had a really big jar, set it on the table in front of him, and he filled it up with these really big rocks, right? And then asked the class, is it full? Everybody said yes, right? And then he takes some smaller rocks, some pebbles, and he puts it in and it fills up all the unused space. And he says, all right, so now is it full? Oh yeah, now it's full, right? And then he takes sand and he pours sand in it, and the sand fills up all of the remaining space. And he says, now is it full? Well, the whole concept behind that is the stuff that's a really big rock, the stuff that really, really matters to you, make sure you're taking care of that. Make sure you're prioritizing for that and time blocking for that, so that you're sure that the super important stuff doesn't get crowded out. I think that time with your kiddo or kiddos is a perfect example. That's really important to me. I'm certain if I asked you that you would say the same thing, but so much stuff gets in the way of, oh, I got to finish that and I forgot to call so-and-so and whatever, that eats into that big rock that really matters to you in your life. So think through, what are your big rocks? Make sure it's no more than 5. You know, mine are my kid, my day job, my side hustle, and my health. Those are the things that I make sure that I prioritize on paper, so that I'm sure that they get done. And then all of the other kind of additional stuff kind of takes care of itself. The next concept there that I like to, you know, bring to my thought process of prioritization is this idea of thinking in outcomes. So if you know me, you know I went all the way down the Tony Robbins rabbit hole. And one of the things, one of the programs I took was called Time of Your Life. And the big aha moment there was, rather than having these huge to-do lists of like, I've got to do this and I've got to call this guy and I've got to do these numbers and whatever, rather than thinking in the individual items of action, I'm far better served if I think about the outcome that I need to deliver. And one of the stories that Tony tells is he needed to, you know, provide advertisement or, you know, gain followers to whatever seminar or something that he was going to do. And he could have done these 40 different things, but, you know, getting one really good vote of confidence from someone who'd attended, I think it was John Daly or something. He made one phone call and he reached that outcome. So, you know, is there a way, and this kind of feeds into another book that I love, it's called The One Thing by Gary Keller. You know, what's the one thing that I can do that makes everything else easier or unnecessary? That one focusing question has completely changed how I've approached day job stuff, and actually helped me institute a few things that, you know, won me President's Club of my last company. So, you know, what's the one thing that you could do in whatever you're thinking about that would change the whole ballgame, make everything else easier or unnecessary? So easy concepts, but just like anything, it's a habit. So if you're, it's going to feel weird, and you're not going to fall, you're going to friggin' fall off the wheels, it's going to go off the track, no problem. The first few times you do it, but the more second nature, thinking in these buckets, thinking in outcomes, making sure that you are batching what you're doing so that you can be more effective and not have to continually change is really huge. So I encourage you to your action plan, because I love a good action plan, is you're going to print out these things that I'm going to provide the link for in the comments, and you're going to try to plan your next week. I'll also scan an example so you can kind of see the sort of thing that I'm looking at, and try to just batch some tasks. So if you're a flip phone paper kind of person, if you have a planner, make lists that these are the calls I need to make, that these are the computer files I need to deal with. This is if you're a real estate investor, these are the deals I need to underwrite. These are the brokers that I need to get in touch with. These are the thank you notes I need to do. Whatever it is, write stuff out. Or what's been easiest for me, since I drive around a lot for my day job, is whenever I think of something, I just yell, "Hey Siri," she's gonna hear me, call Chris Dillevue to my call list. Right? So I encourage you to just start a couple of lists like that by yelling at Siri, and you'll be surprised at how, when something can leave your brain, if you don't have to think about it more, like to continually remember to do this thing, how much more freeing it is, and how much more focus you can give to other stuff. So anyway, really looking forward to know if this was helpful, if you found value in it, what parts made sense, what parts you need me to dig into more. But definitely print this stuff out and start those lists of batching. All right, talk soon.